So we start off every Monday, hour two, hard left, hard right, the thing that I got the most right last week and the thing that I got the most wrong previous week. And I feel like since it's halfway through the NFL season, I feel like it's a good time to do one of these where I check in on the teams that I've been the most right about and the teams that I've been the most wrong about. Let's start with the wrong, and it is still my biggest whiff. And I kind of brought this up a few weeks into the season because it was going downhill fast, but it's gotten even worse. If you remember, I, being the genius that I am, thought the Tennessee Titans were going to make the playoffs. I thought the addition of Cam Ward was really high on. Plus, I've said this a bunch. We can't normally, as a regular fan, watch a professional game and go, this is where they lost, because we don't know the X's and O's, we don't know the game plan, we don't know the design, bunch of different things, right? We saw Will Levis lose 4 games on his own. Like, we all saw when it happened. And it wasn't like, maybe this, maybe that. No, like we all were there. We were all, as LeBron James would say, we were all witnesses. So I thought the upgrade of Cam Ward over Will Levis was going to get the Titans to be in a better position. I thought Brian Callahan it's like, maybe he actually is a good head coach. He's just, he had to deal with Will Levis. Hasn't worked out very well for me. The Titans lose another game yesterday where even though they got into the 20s, they didn't score an offensive touchdown. It was really weird. Like, the Chargers tried to charge that game away and they couldn't take advantage of it. Cam Ward has looked objectively really bad. Like, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to put bust or say, it's not working. There's a lot of things that need to be retooled here. But so far early into his career, it's looked bad. And I'm still going to keep my Cam Ward stock. And I'm still going to think they have a chance to turn this around in the future and that he can be their franchise quarterback. That obviously was the first overall pick. But it's a really good thing. Sometimes not being talked about or heavily noticed is a good thing. If you get to fly under the radar, you're not evaluated as harshly. Like last year's draft class, like Caleb, Jaden, Drake, Bo, like they just did not have this, where they were eyes on them, super focused, criticized constantly. Like, if any of them had the season Cam Ward is having as the number 1 overall pick, it would have been rough. But Cam has been able to kind of avoid some of that because, let's be honest, a lot of us outside of hardcore Titans fans are just not watching that many Titans games. I was watching them because they were obviously my pick and I had personal investment in them, but it's been a really rough go so far as the product the Titans have put on the field. Obviously fired their coach. Cam's not playing well. The defense isn't good. That's a team that is, you got to start nailing these drafts, man. You got to nail these drafts. You're only going to have a few more years, 1 to 2 more years of a prime Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, Cam Ward, that's your building block, man. You got to get the O-line right. You got to get this defense better. You got to get the coach right. It's going to be a rebuild. But again, I thought this team had a chance to go to the playoffs. I didn't think they were that far off if they got better quarterback play out of Cam Ward. Now, part of the problem is they're just not getting better quarterback play out of Cam Ward. That is a really valid opinion and take that, yeah, maybe this team is better than they've proposed so far or better than they've played so far. But the reality is Cam is not living up to his end of that bargain and playing better than Will Levis. Like, if the bar was Will Levis, we are still at the bar. Maybe we're not even at the bar. Maybe we're still outside trying to get an ID in. Cam's young. And so there's a lot here that I was wrong about in regards to what the Titans could have been if, again, I thought they were going to be the 7th seed. I no longer think they're going to be the 7th seed. We did our team draft, and I drafted the Titans. They are really, really Tony beat by 2 games, and it's pretty much because I have the Titans. So, yeah. Again, and that was one of those games where I think it was really rough because I think the Chargers tried to lose that game yesterday. But because Cam Ward and the Titans are just not a quality football team, they were not able to take advantage of the fact that the Chargers were trying to lose that game yesterday. And we saw the outcome. Cam has to play better. This team needs a major overhaul. They are going to need quality coach hire, a quality general manager hire, a lot of retooling. You're going to have to knock a couple drafts out of the ballpark with this. This is going to be and Cam, we got to see it. You don't have to win next year, Cam, but we got to see better play than this. We got to. This can't be how you play going into year 3 of your career. Because the NFL moves on really, really fast. I don't think the Titans, I would be shocked if the Titans decided that, because this is considered a really good quarterback class, I would be shocked if they dropped Cam Ward after this year, because it just feels like you'd be putting another quarterback in that situation, and it would not be, I don't think any quarterback would succeed right now with the current state of the Titans. So, but you don't want to be, Arch Manning is probably staying for one more year. If he were to come out the following year, you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy, Cam Ward, that if you have another really bad season, that they would consider bringing Arch in over you. So yeah, Tennessee Titans, I was really wrong. They are not going to be a playoff team. Moving over to HardRight, though, I was extremely right about my Denver Broncos. So I said the Broncos are going to be a 13-win team, and everybody said I was crazy. I was a lunatic. Bo Nix is your quarterback. What are you thinking? Currently 7-2. They play the Raiders on Thursday. They'll be 8-2. 8-2, and then they host the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's going to be the big one. If they beat the Chiefs, because if you go down their schedule, everybody else is a winnable game. They're all winnable games. And because they've already split with the Chargers, you kind of got to feel even better about that one. Because it's almost like, or sorry, not split the Chargers, because they've already lost to the Chargers. You got to even feel good about them playing the Chargers again, as that should be a split. But Raiders, Thursday, I think they win that game. Then they have 10 days off because of the mini bye. Then they play the Chiefs. Then they got Commanders, Monday Night Football. Or I think that's Sunday Night Football, actually. Sorry. They go Chiefs, bye week. And then, Sunday Night Football, yeah, against the Commanders. Then they have the Raiders again. And the Commanders we saw last night, Commanders, not very good. We're seeing the regression from that team, which, unfortunate, they had an amazing season last year, but it was really easy to see. Yes, they've had a bunch of injuries, but it was easy to see, like, the Commanders were not one of the 4 best teams in football, even though that's where they technically finished, but they did have a great season last year, and they deserve credit for that. So they should beat the Raiders. I truly believe they have a great chance to beat the Chiefs. Now you're 9-2. Then the Commanders, the Raiders again, the Packers. We'll see. Those are my 2 most interesting quarterbacks in football. We'll see who plays better. Jaguars, they're better than the Jaguars. Chiefs again. And then the last week is the Chargers, which we'll see if they're even playing, how serious that game is based on where those 2 teams are. But like I said, Denver was going to be a 13-win team. And I did most of my analysis without even bringing Bo Nix into the conversation. And everything I said about this team has been 1,000% correct. This defense, I know statistically Houston is better. This is the best defense in football because they do the best thing you can do in football, which is they harass the hell out of your quarterback. 40 sacks in 9 games. There's teams who aren't going to get to 40 sacks on the season. 40 sacks in 9 games. When they're healthy, the best secondary in football, Pat Surtain, everyone's corner they love to hate, and Riley Moss. Jade Barron's now getting snaps because of Surtain being out. Chris Abrams is getting snaps. You see how well he's playing. Jaquan McMillan in the slot. He's been one of the best slot nickels the past couple of years. Dre Greenlaw is now there healthy. Hufanga and Brandon Jones are arguably playing. You can argue there's a 1 or 2 better safety combos in the league, but they're playing like the best. This pass rush, obviously Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers, they're getting after everybody, causing hell. And then you've got the offensive line, which is played like the best offensive line in football. I know it's not the Eagles' names or the Lions' names, but objectively, they've been playing the best. Yes, Bo has to be consistently better. But when they're on, when they're rolling, when Sean Payton is dialing up his offense, yes, we all hate the screenplays. But I will say this to my Bronco fans out there. I know we hate the screenplays, but I promise you the screenplays, even if they don't get many yards, they absolutely are pivotal. They're absolutely pivotal. And I know it drives us all crazy because it drives me crazy. But the reason why Denver is so hard to sack is not just because the offensive line is great. The reason why they're at a historic pace with sacks taken, because I only think they got sacked once yesterday. So they have sacked opposing quarterbacks 40 times. They've only been sacked 9. Some of that is the screen game because they are throwing these really quick passes. And so defenders always and pass rushers always have to keep that in mind that, hey, we can't just go light speed ahead every single play because Sean Payton is going to throw 5 or 6 screens a game. And if you're not prepared, they're going to go for these big gains. They're going to get you 30, 40 yards on a screenplay. And while it's infuriating when they go for a yard or no yards, that is a part of the formula of why Denver is successful about not having their quarterback get hit. Again, and Pat Bryant, second half of the season, looks like he's stepping into his own. Mims, who should be back, was obviously missed yesterday. They had the backup muffed to punt. And Denver, you could argue, besides the Cowboys game, which no one's going to give him credit for because the Cowboys defense is that bad, has arguably not played a great game yet from start to finish. To go first quarter to fourth quarter, offense, defense, whole thing's working, whole thing's moving. Like, you could argue they haven't. And that's with – now, Denver's the most penalized team in the league, which is a problem. I do think some of these penalties are really, really ticky-tack. I do think that there is guys like we saw in the Texans game yesterday, the first pass to Troy Franklin, where the Texans corner just is already swinging down on his arms a full second, 2 seconds early. If that was Riley Moss who had a DPI, I do think they are getting some unfair penalties, and I think they are officiated oddly. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I do think they are officiated oddly, to say the least. But with that being said, this defense is spectacular. They get the quarterback better than everybody. They got one of the best. They can get your quarterback and they can cover your receivers as well as anyone. And Dre Greenlaw is going to be huge as far as dealing with tight ends, which has been kind of the one flaw in Denver's defense the last couple of years as tight ends have killed them. But I think you're going to see on Thursday night, the Dre Greenlaw versus Brock Bowers. You're going to, not that, and Brock to me is the best tight end in football. I know Tyler Warren's had some great games, but Brock Bowers is the best tight end in football. You're going to see what it looks like on Thursday night. And I think Thursday night is going to be a huge, they should steamroll the Raiders. They should absolutely steamroll the Raiders. I will not be doom and gloom if they don't, but I will be disappointed if they don't steamroll. And so, again, Titans, not a great pick. My Broncos, 13 plus wins, absolutely doable. I mean, if you want to be a part of one of the coolest, most unique communities, don't forget to like and subscribe.